अब कहाँ से करूँ प्रेजेंट? Yes. As I have already introduced, can you can the slides are visible to you or not? Hello.
Yes, ma'am, visible hai.
Okay, then it's okay. The topic, as I have introduced, is Sanskrit inscriptions of early medieval North India, typology and significance. The inscriptions, as you know, are the textual records with varying functions, composed in different languages, spoken by different people. Initially, the inscriptions were considered as a source of dynastic succession and chronology, but later recognized as important documents providing information on society and economy. Now, these are recognized as significant sources for historical writing. Since the 19th century, the inscriptions were highlighted as significant sources of the ancient Indian history. Up to the Christian era, the inscriptions were generally in Prakrit language. Right from the Gupta period, as I have told you, the Sanskrit became court language and the language of the official records, including inscriptions, and Sanskrit became a public political language in post-Gupta period, and the use of Sanskrit linked politics to a political culture beyond the region. The typology of the inscriptions is basically important to be highlighted here. The inscriptions are of various types: royal proclamations. The royal edicts are particularly royal proclamations, and these inscriptions inform about a variety of royal proclamations and variety of royal events, particularly proclaimed by the ruler and the officials also. The second category of inscriptions is the votive inscriptions, and these are of varied nature, votive inscriptions. And the third category is the eulogies of the rulers, particularly these are called as the prashastis. Basically, the prashasti inscriptions are very much important with relation to the Gupta period, and you know about the important prashasti inscription, that is the Prayag Prashasti of Samudragupta. This is the first famous prashasti of Samudragupta, and right from this period, the prashasti inscriptions became very much popular. But during our period, during the early medieval period, there is a particular shift with regard to the inscriptions. We do not get much more prashasti inscriptions, but the prashastis are the introductory passages of the general inscriptions of varied nature. Basically, the inscription started with the prashastis. There are some verses, particular verses in the beginning of the inscription with regard to the praise of the king and with regard to the particular successors of the king as well as the ancestors of the king. So the whole dynasty has been praised in the inscription together with the particular focus on the praise of the particular king who made a particular significance in a particular event. Either it is a construction of the temple, or it is the land grant, or it is the particular donation, or something else. The fourth category is the records of the particular events. These are the commemorative inscriptions, and in this category there are some sati records also, sati inscriptions. There are also some hero stone inscriptions. There are other commemorative events also which were codified or composed in the form of the inscriptions, and it is difficult to name all the inscriptions here, so I have categorized the typology in a very general manner. Then the fifth category is of the legal documents pertaining to the rights and obligations over the land. These are particularly the land grants. land grant inscriptions. These inscriptions, as I have told you in the beginning, became very much common during the early medieval period. Right from the Gupta period, these inscriptions became very much common. As you know that since the 1st century AD or during the Satvahana period, the lands were also granted to the Brahmins. But when we talk of the beginning of the feudalism in India, these inscriptions are not to be counted for that purpose, for tracing the beginning of the feudalism. But these inscriptions are particularly the land grants, because these are not describing the rights of the donis and the particular rights of the donis with regard to the collection of taxes, etc. So the land grants to the Brahmins was particularly a common feature of all the ages, but during right from the Gupta period, these became very much common. I would like to tell you that the land grants to the Brahmins were not the only land grants. The secular land grants were also common during the early medieval period, but right from the period of 9th century or 10th century AD, these became very much common. The practice has been started of the secular land grants right from the 9th or 10th century AD. Before that, these were not common, while the officials were being granted the land grants for performing the particular services to the state, for their particular obligations in serving the army and serving the state. So the land grants are also very much important, but the votive inscriptions as well as the commemorative inscriptions are also equally important for our period, for reconstructing the history of the early medieval North India. With regard to the language, I would like to state that the Sanskrit was the language, but the Prashasti inscriptions particularly were very much influenced with the literary language of the Kavyas. As you know that the Harshcharit of Ban was the particular text, and this was also Prashasti to some extent of Harsha. And the Kavya style of Prashastis of the literature were very much copied in the form of the inscriptions. As I have told that during our period, the inscriptions have been started or were started from the Prashastis. The beginning of the inscriptions were in the praise of the king. So basically, the Prashastis are found in the beginning of all the inscriptions. Besides the commemorative inscriptions, besides the Sati inscriptions, in Sati inscriptions, the Prashastis are not found, but in general, while we see the royal proclamations, the Prashastis are also there. And with regard to the particular constructions of the temples, while the inscriptions were composed or codified, the Prashastis are also found in the beginning of the inscriptions. And in these inscriptions, we do get the name of the author of the inscription, the scribe, the engraver of the inscription is also named. And the Charita literature influenced a lot the Prashasti inscriptions. The inscriptions of early medieval period were engraved in public spaces such as temple walls, copper plates. Copper plate inscriptions were very much perpetual. Well, we see the land grants made to the Brahmins. These are the perpetual grants. That means given forever. And the statement in the land grants is found that these land grants were made as long as the sun and moon will remain. And sun and moon will remain forever. So these are the transferable grants from one successor to another successor, from one person to another person. So these are the perpetual grants, and therefore these are recorded on the copper plates. So besides the temple walls, pillars, and the images, the inscriptions are also found on the copper plates. The copper plates became the property of a family, passed down from one generation to the next generation, as I have told. A large number of inscriptions of early medieval period record generous donations to various religious sects, which are a statement of wealth, power, and status of respective kings. Land grants, which became very prolific from Gupta period onwards, are especially relevant for the reconstruction of economy, society, status of craftsmen and crops, feudatories, kings, and queens. So land grants provide a variety of information. This period witnessed the large-scale donation of lands to the priestly class as well as mud and temple complexes. Hence, the epigraphic sources in the form of the land grant inscriptions recording such acts of donation, and in some cases recording buying and selling of lands for various purposes, are an important category of source material for the reconstruction of history pertaining to the early medieval centuries. I would like to explain you that the buying and selling of land has also been explained in the inscriptions uh, of the category of the land grants, that this land which has been donated to a particular person or to a particular doni or a particular Brahmin, this has been bought from this person, but now this has been given to a Brahmin or a particular doni, or in relation to the secular land grants, it is given to particular official forever. The conditions have also been explained. The inscriptions usually begin with symbols. This point is very much important because the symbols have a particular importance with regard to the socio-cultural history. Particularly the religious history has also been explained from the inscriptions. With the help of the inscriptions, we can explain the religion also. Some auspicious symbols had been in general use in both North and South Indian inscriptions, but in North Indian inscriptions of early medieval period, the symbol Om is very much important. It is the normal symbol, it is the usual symbol which has been used in the inscriptions. At the very beginning of the inscription, this symbol has been found, Om. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om. Sometimes Om is only found, sometimes Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And this also reflects the religious affiliations of the kings. Another symbol used with the symbol Om is the Mangal sign. It is a sign which is the auspicious sign or symbol, and it is used usually in the end of the inscription also. Sometimes it is used in the beginning together with the symbol Om, but sometimes it is used repeatedly in the middle as well as in the end of the inscription. And this is found in the form of a symbol only. Jaise Deepak hota hai, in the form of Deepak, it is found. The Tri-Ratna symbol is found in the sculptural art of the Sanchi and Bharod, and as compared to the Tri-Ratna symbol, this Mangal sign is also quite similar to the Tri-Ratna. Inscriptions in general also record the symbol swastik. Swastik is very much normal symbol in Hindu religion, and even today we use this symbol for auspicious events, and on our houses on Diwali and on some special religious occasions we make this symbol swastik, and this is very much auspicious symbol. In some Sanskrit inscriptions recording the perpetual grants, the symbol of sun, moon, and stars are found. Symbol, as I have told you, that sun, moon are the very much specific symbol, and these sun and moon and stars show the perpetual nature of the inscriptions or of land grants. So with regard to the land grants, these inscriptions are very much common. These are commonly used in particular land grants to show the perpetuity of the grants. On stone slabs recording the inscriptions, the symbolic representation of donkey or under a donkey is found. I will explain this, what is the significance of donkey, because donkey is a particular animal which is being used in the phrases जैसे गधे की मौत मरना. So in the inscription, in imprecatory verses, it is usually stated that those who will not obey this particular order or particular this particular grant, those who will not obey this order, royal order, will die donkey's death. गधे की मौत मरेंगे वो. So this is the donkey is here is found in symbolic form also, and on sati stones recording the inscriptions, the representation of the right hand of a female raised upward is noticed. Right hand of a female is usually found while you go to Rajasthan. These sati inscriptions are very much common, and on the forts also, this event of Johar usually took place, and the sati, in both cases, in sati inscriptions, and unfortunately we do not get the Johar inscriptions. The sati inscriptions are very much common, but the question is there, why we do not get the Johar inscriptions. But the right hand impression of this of women are also found on the gates and on particular fort walls, and you can see that these are also the symbolic representations. The land grant charters also give some information on the dynamic historical process of migrations, and tell us about the original places from where the donors, as well as the engravers of the inscriptions held. That means that a particular doni has been mentioned, that a Brahmin who has come from this place has been given this grant. And the donor's history has also been explained, that the donors, the particular donor or donors belong to this and this place, and the engraver, that means Thakur, or sometimes Thakuras are most commonly the engravers of the inscriptions during our period. So the Thakur, the names are also found, that Thakur Falok, Thakur Peru. These are the engravers, particularly because the Kayasthas belong to the Thakur titles. They usually adopted the Thakur titles, and the Thakuras were also the feudatories in general. So the engraver's history has also been recorded in inscriptions. So inscriptions tell us about the identity of the grantee. Grantee also, the nature of the gift, whether it was a gift of revenue from land or land itself, the extent of the area that was granted, that means the area, particular area, how much land and how far up to the boundary of a particular village. The boundaries of the villages are also mentioned. The particular rakba, sometimes rakba or the area has been mentioned in a particular terminology. So it could be a small area or several composition of several villages. And the religious affiliation of the grantee is also obvious, because as I have told you, that Om Namah Shivaya and Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya denotes that the particular grantee belongs to the Vaishnavite faith or the Shaivite faith or the faith of the Shakti or Shakta cult. So these are the particular informations which have been provided through the land grant inscriptions, or the particular religious institution, either it is matha or the temple or the brahmanas. These are also being mentioned, that to whom the grants were made. The inscriptions recording grants simply were not a new feature marking the new transformation that the economy was undergoing, but they record a shift from yajna to dan. This is a very particular point, that during earlier period we see that the yajnas were performed, the sacrifices were the usual practice with regard to the royalty. During early medieval period, these became very much rare. These were not common during early medieval period, and during this period we do get that the dan or the donations became very much common, because the practice of dan has been usually mentioned in terms of acquisition of heaven by the donor, that the particular grant is being made to a particular Brahmin or a group of Brahmins with the aim to acquire heaven or swarg by a particular grantee. So this sacrificial ritual, with relation to the rituals, these inscriptions are also very much important, and these record a shift from yajna to dan. The grantees exercised the general rights of deriving income from the villages with all sources of its income of possession within and without its boundaries. I would like to explain that in Sanskrit inscriptions of the land grants, describing land grants, there is a phrase which I haven't written in this particular slide. I am not showing you that samast pratyay sarv aay samet. Samast pratyay sarv aay samet. That means the particular grant of a particular village or a group of villages has been made with all the sources of the income, that the donee will exercise all the rights of deriving income from all the sources which are within the boundary of the villages. Samast pratyay sarv aay samet. I will like to explain that whether there is a well, whether there are mango groves within the boundary of the village, these will also fall within the jurisdiction of the grantee. So grantee was also assigned residential rights. This is quite obvious that he will reside in a particular place given to him. But while a number of villages were being granted to a Brahmins and Brahmins became the big landholders, it was not possible to reside for a particular Brahmin to live in a number of places, at a number of places, or in number of villages. So they appointed their particular feudatories, and that is why the system or the practice of sub-feudatories came into existence. And this denotes the development of feudalism during the early medieval period. The inhabitants and officials were to obey the grantee. That the inhabitants and the officials, administrative officials, they have to obey the grantee, because all the rights have been passed down by the state to the grantee. The inscriptions furnish us with some vital information about the grantees. Their introduction has been found mentioned in the inscriptions. Their designations, that means a particular Brahmin was also performing the service of the officers, and particular minister, sometimes he was a minister of the state, sometimes he was performing as a soldier, because during our period there was no demarcation with regard to the caste. Some Brahmins were also performing as the service of the soldiers. They were providing military services to the state or to the particular king as feudatories. And the family history, obligations, caste, gotra pravar of the grantee has also been mentioned. So these land grants are the particular records made to Brahmins specifically since the 1st century AD, but during the early medieval period, right from the 10th or 9th century AD, these became very much common with regard to the grants to the non-Brahmanas also, or to the official class. There is a discussion in the book of R.S. Sharma with regard to the official designations and with regard to the designations of the feudatories, and he was also quite confused, and he said that I'm not clear that whether the official designations were earlier or were being provided with the land grants, or whether the designations of the feudatories were earlier. But he showed, by some examples, he tried to presume that the official designations were probably, there is a great possibility that official designations were earlier, and the feudatory and designation of the feudatories came into existence later. So he was also not quite clear. He was not clear, but he suggested a possibility of the designation. So I am trying to focus that the secular land grants were quite later, emerged quite later, and the official grants were quite earlier. Sorry, the religious grants were quite earlier. The official grants and the secular grants emerged later. The inscriptions of our period usually begin with the prashastis, as I have told you, and the prashastis are very much common with regard to the early medieval Indian inscriptions also, but these are introductory passages. The inscriptions, especially those of early medieval period, have been used as a source on the political structures. As I have told you, that polity forms the base of all types of histories, whether it is cultural history, whether it is economic history, or religious, or something else. So political structures are also being revealed from the inscriptions of this period. The particular details of administration and the revenue systems have been found. The particular taxes or the fiscal terms have been highlighted through the inscriptions. The land measurements in particular terminology have been discussed in particular inscriptions. The particular classes, castes, forms of labor, agrarian relations, settlement patterns have been highlighted through the inscriptions. And these form the aspects of the economic history as well as the socio-cultural history. The debates on the state formation in early medieval India, like the third urbanization, feudalism, status of women, are alive due to the inscriptions and the information that they carry. I would like to tell you that there is a particular debate on the origin or emergence of the Rajputras, and this debate has been solved out to some extent by a modern historian, B.D. Chattopadhyay. In his book, The Making of Early Medieval Indian History, he has basically he has written an article on this emergence of the Rajputras, and he has given a very rational approach with the help of the land grants and the early medieval Indian inscriptions, which are in Sanskrit language. So this debate of the origin of the Rajputras, of the emergence of the feudatories, the emergence and development of the towns, and the urbanization, etc., etc., would have not been solved out without the help of the inscriptions. There are cases where the inscriptions of different dynasties make conflicting claims. For instance, a Gurjar Pratyahara inscription states that the king Vatsaraj conquered all of Karnataka. However, the contemporary Rashtrakuta king claims in his inscriptions to have defeated Vatsaraj and to have ruled over the Karnataka area. Wherever possible, details of political events given in inscriptions have to be cross-checked. This is important point. Basically, I will like to mention one inscription, one ruler, Harsha, King Harsha of Kannauj. King Harsha of Kannauj basically was defeated. It is written in history books, was defeated by Pulakeshin II of the Chalukya dynasty. And in the inscriptions of Harsha, we do get this information that there was no defeat. It is not mentioned that he was defeated by Pulakeshin II of the Chalukya dynasty, but you know about a famous inscription, Ahol Prashasti. Ahol Prashasti, which is a Prashasti or the praise of the king Pulakeshin II, which highlighted, this inscription highlighted the defeat of Harsha at the hand of Pulkeshin II, particularly. So these inscriptions are to be cross-checked because there are contradictory statements because of the eulogies of the king with regards to the defeat or the extension of the particular area and the conquests of the king, particular kings. So inscriptions provide datable information. It is very much well known with regard to the religious sects, institutions, and all the practices, either economic practices, cultural, as well as the religious practices. These are commonly the donative records in our period, as well as the land grants and some commemorative records also. And they provide a glimpse into the sects and the cults also. So they highlighted the religious history in particular also. So the inscriptions can help to identify and date sculptures and structures. These inscriptions fall in the category of the image inscriptions. I would like to tell you that those inscriptions which are found on sculptures and which are found on the images and on the temple walls, these help to reconstruct the history of the particular structures or of the sculptures with regard to their dates. And they thus throw light on the history of iconography also, as well as the history of art and architecture. And these are to be counted as a rich source on the information on historical geography also, because the place names are found. Actually, you can understand the extent of a particular dynasty or particular king, extent of the empire of a particular king on the with the help of the inscription, because the particular names of a particular places have been mentioned in the inscriptions. Inscriptions in Sanskrit are found in Devanagari, but I have told you that the Devanagari is the script only. The language has been influenced. Language of the inscriptions is influenced from the local dialect. Some Persian terms are also found in early medieval inscriptions. While you will study the bilingual inscriptions, there is a great influence of Persian languages also. The particular inscription is found in Sanskrit. Side by side, it is found in Prakrit. Sometimes, in Sanskrit. Side by side, it is found in Persian and in Arabic also. So sometimes these inscriptions are bilingual, sometimes these are trilingual also. And in Sanskrit inscriptions, the terms like Sahi, Suratran for Sultan, these are the terms of the Persian language. These are also found mixed. While I was reading one inscription from the region of Bundelkhand, I noted that some Hindi Bundelkhandi terms are found, like ota. Ota is for a short wall. So for a wall which is being constructed particularly for a division in a particular structure. So this is called as ota. So such terms are found. Some inscriptions are in verse, some are in prose, and some are mixed in prose and verse. Inscriptions on stone and copper plates usually follow a customary order, and at the beginning of text and occasionally at the end there is a symbol or a word. As I have told you that occasionally there is a symbol Om. Om is there, which is very much usual Mangal sign. These are the symbols at the beginning, and from the historical point of view, the value of the inscriptions is greater, as you know, from the literary sources, because these are the datable records, and these are the appropriate records which provide the place names also, and the particular names of the kings and particular officials and the designations. These are found. These inscriptions provide the designations of the officials, and such type of informations are missing in the literary sources. So unfortunately, many of them are fragmentary inscriptions and these are incomplete, and this is a difficulty in reading as well as in understanding the subject which a particular inscription highlights, that because of the fragmentary nature or of incomplete nature of the inscriptions, the historian is facing a difficulty in understanding the theme sometimes and understanding the terminology. Mention of the coins in inscriptions is very much particular. I was reading some Chauhan inscriptions, and in these inscriptions, I got 2 or 3 inscriptions with regard to the particular queen. There is a description of the queen of Chauhan king Vigrah Raj, and this queen was a Maharagi, chief queen, and issued some of the coins. Inscriptions in general provide occasional information on the coins, that some coins are found mentioned in the inscriptions, but there is a difficulty that these coins are not found in excavations in coin hoards, or these are only mentioned in the inscriptions but not found at particular places. So this is a particular difficulty, that whether these were actual coins or not. A number of inscriptions are concerned with the construction of buildings such as temples, fort walls, reservoirs, baulis. Baulis were very much common in Gujarat, in Rajasthan areas, because these baulis were basically constructed in the arid zones where there was a scarcity of the water. The deep wells were also constructed in Rajasthan and Gujarat area. And the bridges, these inscriptions also provide information on with regard to the bridges, dharmashalas, resting houses, platforms, etc. And the inscription at in the fort of the Kalinjar, Ajaygarh, Devgarh, not only in these forts, in Kalinjar, Ajaygarh, Devgarh, and Chunar fort, these inscriptions are found, but in each and every inscription, whether it is a small, in each and every fort, whether this is a small fort or it is a big fort, even in Gadhis also. Gadhis are small fortresses of the feudatories or some small kings of the Rajas. And in these Gadhis also, the particular inscriptions are found, which help us to trace the fragments of the history of a particular dynasty or a particular place, or of the particular fortress or the fort. This history would have otherwise remained unknown in the absence of the inscriptions. And in memorial stone pillars like Sati pillars, the dynastic history has also been revealed. The particular women has been mentioned, that this woman of this name became Sati, and the husband of this woman died in that particular battle, and therefore a group of women or a particular woman became Sati, who belonged to this and this place in the memory in after the death of husband, either at Sahagaman or Anugaman, she became Sati and burnt herself on the funeral pyre of her husband. So this is the usual description in the inscriptions, that the woman has also been defined, his husband's name and family name and all the history of a particular caste. Particular caste has also been mentioned of that woman and her husband. Some of the inscriptions give us the names of architects, masons, engravers, and carpenters also. The architects are generally mentioned as Shilpis. The artisans are mentioned as Shilpkar. Sometimes Sutradhar are also mentioned, and their duties as well as their function or role with regard to the construction of a particular building has been mentioned elaborately in the inscriptions. The names of the Shilpis or the artists or the sculptors are mentioned significantly in terms of the image inscriptions as well as on the inscriptions which are found on a particular building wall. The images of the Jain Tirthankaras are also found in large numbers. The not only of Jain Tirthankaras but also of the uh, of various gods and goddesses. The images are found of various Hindu gods as well as of the Shaktis, Devi or Durga. The Mahishasur Mardini image or sculptures are very much common with regard to the early medieval period. So these inscriptions are basically providing information of the sculptor as well as of the ruler, or in case the that particular image has not been made on a particular ruler, then the some private person's name uh, were also found on the pedestal of the images. So the image inscriptions are usually found on the pedestals of the images, and these record the names of the devotees who declared or installed the images. Now, during the early medieval period, as you know, that there was a development of feudalism, and there were various designations of the feudatories which came into existence. There are designations like Rais, Ranakas, Rajaputras, Rautas, Thakuras, Maha Samantas, Samantas, Maha Mandaleshwaras, Mandaleshwaras, Mandalikas. These were the most common designations or the titles of the feudatories, but besides this, there were also some other titles, but these were the most common titles, and we just reconstruct the development of feudalism on the basis of the titles and on the basis of the designations of the feudatories in particular. Because these inscriptions not only provide the titles of the feudatories, but these also provide the particular roles played by the feudatories in general. You know that right from the period of Harsha, from 7th century AD onwards, Samantas became very much common. This title Samanta came to be regarded as the hallmark of Indian feudalism. There is one historian, B.N.S. Yadav, who said that the whole of the feudal system is the Samanta system. So Samantas were very much common, and they played an important role in maintaining an army and assisting the king. In Harshcharit of Banbhatt, there is a very detailed description of these Samantas and the roles of the Samantas played in the court of Harsha of Kannauj has been described in particular details in Harshcharit of Ban. This is the literary source, but side by side in inscriptions also we do get the description of the Samantas and their roles and the particular obligations which they played towards the state. The inscriptions inform us that the position of the Rajputras was distinct under the Chahamanas, that means Chauhans. The Rajputra, as you know, is a term, the literal meaning of which is the son of the king. This title became very much common during early medieval period, and under the Chauhans, the Rajputras were not only the feudatories. This title was the title of the feudatories in general, but under the Chauhans, as revealed from the particular Chauhan inscriptions, we may understand that the Rajputras were the actual sons of the kings also. Besides the feudatories, some of the Rajputras were also feudatories under the Chauhans, but some were the actual sons of the kings, and they were managing the particular landed estates, and some were under the strict control and supervision of the king and the viceroy. So the Rajputra was a title which was adopted by the actual sons of the kings who were playing the significant role in management of the estate and in the administration of the estate. But side by side, under the Chauhans specifically, they were the feudatories. Sometimes the Rajputras were basically became famous. This title became famous because there were Rajputras who were earlier the sons of the kings, but while they left, they lost their estates due to some political upheaval. They continued to write Rajputras. They continued to write the title Rajputras, and they did not stop this practice of writing Rajputras. So this became their identity, hereditary identity. Rajputras under the Chauhans also gave their approval to the judicial orders regarding their own state. Rajputras are also known to have worked for the welfare of the state in capacity of the feudatories, and some of the Rajputras serving as feudatory chiefs might have been successful in establishing their own states, and after declaring themselves as independent rulers, they continued their title, original title. There is another title, Raut. Raut. Raut is a Prakrit term for Sanskrit Rajputra. The meaning is same, son of the king, and he was probably a feudatory chief, equal in status to Rajputra. In the capacity of feudatory chief, sometimes a Raut was designated. Raut was also known, or Raut also adopted the title of Thakpur. Sometimes he also adopted the title Samant. Sometimes he was also called as Mahamandalik. So, in the age of the development of feudalism, we can see that one official who is known as Rauta may also or might have also adopted other titles. This is a particular point which has been revealed through the inscriptions only. Some Ranaka chiefs, another title was Ranak. Ranak or Ranak. The particular connotation is Ranak. This is the exact pronunciation, Ranak. And in medieval period, this has become Rana. Some Ranak chiefs were having an independent status as if they were following the suzerainty of their overlord. They took no care to mention the names of their overlords while making a grant or executing a record of something significant in their estates. This is a very important point which indirectly refers to the power and position of the Rana. That sometimes he was not even caring to mention the name of the overlord or of the king. That means he was quite powerful feudatory. And there is one text, one literary source, Lek Paddhati, which is a compilation or composition of the official documents from the region of Gujarat or end of Western Marwad area of early medieval period. This particular literary source also highlighted the significance of Ranak chief because Ranak is mentioned here as most powerful feudatory chief, and next to Ranak has been mentioned as Rajaputra. So probably, as revealed from this Lek Paddhati, probably the Rajaputras were the subordinates or sub-feudatories of the Ranaka. And Ranak was working directly under the king or the estate. He was next to the king. And the same position of the Ranak higher position of the Ranak has been revealed through inscriptions also. But in some of the inscriptions, the Ranakas are also mentioned. They are mentioned as sub-vessels or sub-feudatories. And the chief obligation of the Ranaka, just like the other feudatory chiefs of the rank of the Rana, of the rank of the Raut, or of the rank of Rajaputra, or of the rank of Mahamandalik or Samanta, the prominent obligation of the Ranak chief or Ranak feudatory was also to perform military service to the overlord in the times of war. Ranakas were good administrators because obviously they were the administrators. Not only the Ranakas were the administrators, but all the feudatories were the administrators of their own area. They also functioned like, they also played the roles of the administrators because they have all the right to appoint officials even without the permission of the king sometimes, but most commonly with the permission of the king, they appointed officials. And that is why the practice of the sub-feudatories took place, that the feudatories of the higher rank, they appointed their own officials and provided important titles and designations to them. And all these informations have been provided by the inscriptions. It is evident from epigraphs that almost all the big feudatories were served by sub-vessels of the rank of Thakur. Here I have written Thakur, but Thakur was not the only rank. There were numerous ranks of the feudatories, and numerous titles are found. Raja, Maharaja, Maharaja Diraj. For the lower category of the feudal lords, Raja was the usual title. Then for the upper category, then in comparative to Raja, Maharaja was there, then Samanta. Innumerable titles were there. So sub-vessels have also been revealed through the inscriptions. And epigraphic sources are full of references regarding the grants of land to Thakuras. So Thakur, besides the Ranak, Rajputra, Raut, and Samanta, Thakur was also the most famous title, usual title of the feudatories. But this Thakur title became more and more common right from the 9th century or 10th century AD onwards. And most of the Thakuras were the Kaisthas, as mentioned in the inscriptions. They are the scribes, and they are mentioned together with the Gotra and Pravara. And besides the scribes, they were also the composers of the inscriptions, and their obligations to the estates are also mentioned. Sometimes they are mentioned as the whole soul in charge and guardian of the people of the villages, and sometimes they are referred as the administrators, as feudatory chiefs. Sometimes a Thakur also acted as a trader, and this evidence is a very rare evidence which has been revealed or evident from Barla inscription of Prithviraj III of BS 1234, that Thakur also acted as merchant or trader in Rajasthan. Barla is a place in Rajasthan, that a feudatory was also acting as a merchant. This is quite surprising, and this is a rare evidence. And this I have written a paper, published a paper on Thakur, its varying significance in early medieval North India. This has been published in a reputed sage journal. This is IHR, Indian Historical Review, and I have got appreciation from the other historians with regard to this particular article which I have published in this IHR or Indian Historical Review. So Thakur also acted as a trader. It is notable, and some of the Thakuras had gained much repute, and the doors of the imperial services or royal services, not here, I should not write here the imperial, but royal services. The doors of the royal services were open to their sons, grandsons, and other members of the family. That means the future of the sons and grandsons was also saved. Thakur was a higher designation, obviously. Epigraphs or inscriptions furnish a much clearer picture with particular details than the literary source. And the nature and size of the grants are also very much specifically mentioned in the epigraphs, together with the other details. The inscriptions also reveal about the disloyal character of the feutaries. This is very much interesting, that the inscriptions reveal the disloyal character of the feutaries also. That feutaries were not always very much loyal to the state or to the overlord or the king, but sometimes they also disobeyed. Sometimes they also not only disobeyed, but they disgruntled the king. That means they were disloyal also. That there are evidence in the Prithviraj Vijay of Jainaka, and Prithviraj Vijay of Jainak mentions about such events, that while a feutary disobeyed the king and he fled away from the battlefield, sometimes a particular feutary became disloyal and he mingled with he made alliance with the enemy. So such type of evidence has also been provided by a number of inscriptions of our period. This is very much particular or very much important to note, that a grant, copper plate grant, particularly copper plate grant from Sundarban area of 12th century AD 1196, refers about a feutary where a feutary is found to declare with pride that he was hostile to Maharaja Dhiraj. Feutary declared that he was hostile to his overlord. Overlord who adopted the title Maharaja Dhiraj. Maharaja Dhiraj was also the title of the feudatories during this period. The mutual strife among the political powers holding different regions to extend their territories over the holdings of their neighboring dynasties certainly led to a weak political order and overall a state of confusion, and this all these events have been revealed through inscriptions. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Thank you, Professor.
No, I have not completed.
Okay, yeah, ma'am.
How much time will I get?
You have 15 minutes, ma'am.
Okay. Slides are visible, Akhtar?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The next information which I have found from the inscriptions are the informations related to religious tolerance. And I have written this paper on religious tolerance during early medieval period. This is this has been published in one of the important journals. And I have got one inscription from Thana district of Maharashtra, and this inscription refers about one Arab governor or administrator who was working under one Rashtrakuta king. He was a prominent king, Indra III. So Indra III was reigning, and under him one Arab governor of Tajik race was working, who is mentioned in the inscription as Madhumati, but probably this was a confusion, or this was corrupt spelling. This was a mistake for Muhammad. And this Arab governor is mentioned having friendly relations with the members of Hindu community, and the prayers are offered at the end of the inscription to this Arab governor, whose another name is mentioned as Sugadev, for his healthy and prosperous life, for his tolerant attitude and managing all the affairs of the administration. And it is mentioned in the inscription that the people of Hindu community, they were offering prayers in favor of this Arab governor, because he contributed a lot. He ordered for the repair and maintenance of a local temple at this place. Next inscription, which provides or states about the religious tolerance in early medieval period, is the Viraval inscription. This inscription refers about a Chalukya ruler who was ruling at Anhil Patak in Gujarat, and his minister Ranak is also mentioned. Ranak Maldev is mentioned, and while Ranak Maldev was ruling as a feudatory under Chalukya ruler Arjun Dev, there was one trader, Nuruddin Firoz, who arrived there for the purpose of trade, and he bought a particular piece of land outside the temple of Somnath, outside the town of Somnath. So this Arab governor built a mosque at this place, and this mosque was built with the help of the Pashupat Acharyas. Pashupat means a sect. Pashupatas were the Shaivites. So Shaiva Acharyas, Shaivite Acharyas, they helped a lot and contributed a lot in the construction of the mosque, which was built by this Nuruddin Firoz. And this evidence, as described in Viraval inscription, is a very significant evidence in relation to the religious tolerance, that a mosque was being constructed by the Shaivites or Shaiva Acharyas. A great man of a Hindu community, also helped a lot in the erection of a mosque. His name is mentioned with the designation, with the title Raja. And this inscription provides information that, well, almost all the Chalukya inscriptions are dated in Vikram era. This inscription of Viraval inscription is also equally dated in Muslim, in Hijri Sambat, Rasul Muhammad Sambat. This is dated. So in both the Sambats, in Rasul Muhammad Sambat and in Vikram Sambat, this is the dates are mentioned. Probably it was for the this inscription was written in both the Sambats, readable in both the Sambats, probably from the point of view of the people of the Muslim community who were residing there. Next next significant information with regard to the inscriptions is related to the position of women. The position of women has been highlighted in great detail in inscriptions. The particular queen mothers, Matra Ragi of different dynasties, not only of the Gardwala dynasty, the slide is showing the Gardwala dynasty, but of all the dynasties of Chahamana, Chalukya, and Kashvahas, all the queens of all the dynasties were very much prominent. So we must say that, well, we are not having the inscriptional records of the common women. We are having records or the inscriptions of the royal women who were playing a great role in the management of the state affairs. in administration also. And this has been revealed in detail through the inscriptions. So not only the queen mothers, Matra Ragi, they were providing the grants, but the queens of the feudatories also were providing the grants. The royal women were consisting of the queens of the feudatories also. The Parmara queen's status was also higher, and some of the queens of the Gardwalas and of the Parmaras, they were also managing their own officials. They were quite important in relation to administrative affairs. They were playing significant roles, and the political status of the queens under the Gardwalas and under the Chahmanas is revealed from a particular mention of Rajan, Ragi, Yuvraj. That in a particular order, the queens are also mentioned together with Rajan, that means Raja, Ragi, and Yuvraj. Here it is not clear whether Rajan was a chief ruler of a state or Rajan was a feudatory. So in case Rajan is mentioned as a title of feudatory, then the Ragi may also denote the title of the queen of the feudatories. But this particular mention shows that they were quite important. Not only the queens, but the daughters were also playing the significant roles. And the daughters of the particular clans or the dynasties also constructed the particular buildings and the temples. And the daughter of particular Parmara dynasty constructed a particular temple, and there are various temples and the baulis and the bells which were being laid down or constructed by these daughters of different clans or of different rulers, and of sometimes the queens and the Matra Ragis also constructed the particular buildings like step bells, tanks, etc. There is one point which is very much important, that some of the queens of a particular dynasty, Bhaumakara dynasty, also performed as rulers. They were the rulers and they adopted the title Param Bhattarak Maharaja Dhiraj Parmeshwari. Instead of Parmeshwar, they adopted the title Parmeshwari. Then the inscriptions also provide information regarding the Mahajanas, the Panchakulaj, Goshtikas. Mahajanas were not merchants here, but they were acting just like the administrators at the level of the towns and villages. And Panchakulaj were just like the Panchas or the 5 leading persons of the villages, and they were playing a great role in the administration as well as in the management of the temples and in the management of justice also. They were in judicial functions, their role was very much prominent. And Goshtikas have also been highlighted through the inscriptions because the Goshtikas were not related to the administrative functions, but they were managing the affairs of the temples only. So all these groups or all these titles have been highlighted together with their functions in the inscriptions. And there is a term Mahajan Sabha also. Mahajan Sabha is very much important, and the ruler also could not impose any taxes, but Mahajan Sabha imposed taxes and collected taxes also. Sometimes the Panchakulas also collected taxes. Goshtikas, just like the Mahajans and Panchakulas, were quite important as revealed from the inscriptions. So inscriptions provide multiple information. The political history has been revealed through inscriptions, and inscriptions help to reconstruct the political histories of different dynasties. सॉरी ये थोड़ा चार्जिंग की प्रॉब्लम है, मैं दूसरी जगह जाती हूँ. अख्तर,
Yeah, ma'am.
हाँ, ये मेरा लैपटॉप डिस्चार्ज हो रहा है ना, सो आई एम गोइंग टू अनदर रूम. क्योंकि यहाँ लाइट नहीं आ रही है इसमें ना, इन्वर्टर का
Okay.
कनेक्शन नहीं।
Okay.
इसको कैमरे को ऑफ करना बेटा। प्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ कर दी तो
प्रेजेंटेशन होना है, माइक ऑफ ऑन है, माइक भी ऑन है, बस माइक ऑन।
So the inscriptions provide a variety of information regarding the political history. The inscriptions help to reconstruct the dynastic details, detailing the rise and fall of empires, territorial expansions, power struggles. The inscriptions also provide information about the other aspects of political history, titles of the rulers, achievements, genealogies, administrative policies, and governance. The socioeconomic history has also been revealed through inscriptions. As I have told you that the land grants refer about the taxation system, land trade routes uh, have been defined in the inscriptions, economic transactions together with the particular coin names are being mentioned in the inscriptions, and the patronage of arts, construction of public infrastructure, the role of guilds, merchant communities. The third point is with regard to the religious history, that the rituals, the religious practices, the religious groups, religious institutions have been highlighted, the temple construction, the religious landscape, etc. With regard to cultural history, inscriptions provide information relating to festivals, social customs, and also in relation to the various cults and gods and goddesses. So these are only the points, but the inscriptions provide a variety of information, and it is not basically possible uh, to just name all the informations which we get from the inscriptions. So inscriptions are very much important for reconstructing not only the early medieval history of early medieval period, but also the history of each and every period, right from the period of the Mauryas. We do get that the inscriptions are very much important, and the inscriptions of the medieval period are also very much important. I have told you that these are mostly the bilingual and trilingual inscriptions. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rashmi ma'am, for your insightful lecture on early medieval history through epigraphical sources. She explained epigraphy, politics, social and religious aspect and symbols in a simple way. I hope everyone found it beneficial. Now only you have 5 minutes, dear students, to ask questions. Feel free to ask questions or seek clarifications. Thank you. Any questions?
Hello.
Any question? Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Akhtar.
thank you, ma'am.
कोई सवाल ही नहीं पूछ रहे हैं. हेलो. हेलो. Hello.